Hello, and welcome back to another Binary Ninja stream. Today, we're going to be writing a reflog plugin. But first, we have some news. So this week, we have absolutely a whole bunch of different, oh, this one. A whole bunch of different new plugins. I'm excited about a number of them. The first thing I want to go over, I think, is going to be Sepbinja. Which one is it? I don't think it's this one. This one is, oh, I don't have the date on that. Um, let's just double check it. No, this is the older one. So if we go to the community repo, community plugins repo, we can check out where people send in new plugins. If you have a plugin for Binary Ninja and you would like it in the plugin manager, you go to an issue here, you make a new issue, you can fill out the new plugin template here. But to see our latest plugins, you can see which one was most recently updated, the ones that were recently closed, and we've got separate here. Um, yeah, so, oh, I guess that was the same one. The names aren't always the same as the repo. They're a little different. But, so that's Sepinja. We have the 32 and 64-bit Secure Enclave processor from Apple. So I haven't played with it too much, but it seems promising, and I hope it's helpful for some of you guys. Next one in a similar vein is JNI Atlas. This one was released. There were some notes potentially about just some extra features that I think JNI Analyzer doesn't have already. Um, and what is this going to do? This is going to parse some Android files and display those for you, import some of the information of that into your analysis here, as far as I understand it, at least. Not super versed in Android, but as I've said, this seems like a pretty good plugin that will help you if you're working on those things. Next one up for me is going to be this one I'm a little excited about. Class Informer reconstructs the C++ class hierarchies from the Microsoft Visual Compiler runtime type information. And this just helps because there's, as we explored a couple weeks ago, there's a whole bunch of information inside of these binaries. Eventually, once you dig down into these functions, seeing where things are coming from, I clicked into the wrong one. This one? Yeah, we got these V tables and there's all this information, but there's a lot more in these binaries as well that we can utilize. Is this one even? Yeah, this wasn't Microsoft either, so we can't run it on this one. But even so, great ways to get more information into your binaries. All the metadata we can fetch is always helpful. And then the one I'm most excited about is going to be the theme manager. This is, we actually do have a draft PR for our own version of basically this in here, but it's integrated with the rest of the extension manager here. So we'll have themes in here, but for now, until then rather, we can use this theme manager, and they've actually discovered a couple theme libraries I was not aware of. There are our community themes, of course, and you can just click install on any of these and use them now. But there's a couple other places where people have been hiding themes from us. We'd be happy to merge a bunch of these, but I'm glad that somebody is tracking them somewhere and we can use them. In particular, the what caught my eye? Can we click these? Feature request. We have to be able to click these repos or at least copy the name of them. But there were these. Where was it? It was the. I guess there was a search at the top. Um, was it Dracula? It might have been Dracula. Um, One of these themes I found interesting. It was the Pro one, but they don't have that named here. Anyways, go ahead, check these out. Search for these repos on GitHub if you want to take a look at them, or just install it and play around with the different themes. We love having lots of nice themes, so it's always good to have more. Okay. So 4 new plugins this week. Bringing our total up to quite a number now, actually. If you weren't aware, we have this extensions.binary ninja, so you can look at the extensions from anywhere. And I thought we had the count in here somewhere. I suppose not. But enough about plugins for now, or at least other people's plugins, because we have our own to write today. When we're reversing things, one of the hardest things I find we have to do, I just opened the BNDB by mistake. I want to open this. Is we are digging through all these functions. We're seeing functions which call functions, which call functions, which call functions, which return just their argument. Um, and we have to remember how all of that works together. Of course, we have a dozen different ways to deal with this. We can rename these symbols to be helpful. We can inline some of these functions. We can make bookmarks. We can take notes. The sky's the limit, of course. But um, I also have, of course, Tonto, where you can also make your own sort of dynamic call graph, or you can do butterfly slices, basically call trees that recurse a number of times up or down, so you can see everyone who calls you, everyone who you call recursively by some number of levels. And this can definitely help you stay oriented. But it doesn't necessarily help you remember what you were last doing or what you were last reversing, just literally where you were, where you come from. So, just like Git, I think it would be really helpful for us to have a reflog. We're going to play with it linearly first, just to see if just every location we've been is all we need. But it would also be nice, due to the nature of what we're looking at here, is if we go down into a function, we do a bunch of stuff here, we come up and we go back down, it would be nice to view these ref logs as a tree. Um, but we'd only be branching if we go like strictly backwards. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work yet. But we can experiment with it today. All right, so without further ado, I do have this template going here. There's not much. It's just the initializing the sidebar widget here, saying that it should be, I actually want it on the right. And then we call our create widget, give it a name, and it goes in here. So when we initialize our actual sidebar widget, we set up our action handlers, we have some box layouts. Reflog grouped by all changes to a function would be neat. So like you're in a function and it shows you all the variables you've renamed in there as well. That's getting closer to the history widget. And in my mind, I have had a number of considerations for how we might be able to integrate with the history widget. It would honestly be kind of nice if this were a tree view. So if you were to undo to a place and do other actions, it would you could see all that. Um, but then I don't know how you'd necessarily integrate navigation history in here, if that would be good. This is also based on the undo actions in your database. So we can't quite track it the same way, but there's certainly more that we could add to this, I believe, to be even more helpful. Once we have something. Because even just designing the linear list, I was thinking we could do like the address and the name of the function, but we could also do we could do any number of things. We could address, function, the level of IL you were in potentially. There were um, something else I thought that we could put in that list that I'm blanking on now, but let's get this working. We have it over here, and it thinks there's no open file. All right, so that's our first bug. We've got. Oh, okay. Is this broken just from the template? I am. Well, I have it locally too. Um, hello, sidebar. This should be pretty similar to the example in the UI repo, just with a bunch of this stuff removed. Um, and the beginning of this load data stuff going. We have our notify offset changed, and this is going to ideally, oh, I have it on view change. Oh no, so these are actually just the default templates here. Okay, so that's what we need to change, but I'm just going to add to a list of locations whenever we change our offset, whenever we change our view potentially. We are doing a tab per tab sidebar context. So my sidebar here should have one instance per tab we're working in, as opposed to like some global. So we might not need to worry about the like what view we're in. We might just be able to use the offset changed. But there is more information in here as well, the view frame that is helpful, which we might want. We shall see. The first question though is why don't we have why don't we think we have a file open? I would imagine that has to do with the setup down here. Self, we set up our icon almost identically. We create our widget almost identically. Default location, context sensitivity. This one is self-managed. I'm okay using the per tab sidebar context unless that's what's currently broken. Um, and then over here, I think the self-managed is why it needs the view changed up here. But we'll see. Let's give this, since it's still, let's restart it just in case I changed anything since we've been looking at this. Not open the existing. Oh, interesting. There's a bug in there somewhere. I think if I click the right thing, there's definitely a bug in there. Um, yeah, so does our reflog work now? We're over on the right this time. It still doesn't. Okay. So let me just change this. I would be surprised if this is what's doing it. But even so, it's always worth checking. I already have the database open. Oh, you're also opening that one. Okay. Okay, so yeah, there's something weird going on with the per tab sidebar. It is not used anywhere. I think I was looking into this. When we actually use context sensitivity, what do we do? Per view type sidebar? All right, let's try that one. I don't want to do the self-manage though, I believe. Since I'll have to juggle which view I'm looking at and keep different state for the different views. Okay, cool. So I think this should be good now. It still says no active content, but I thought we have our layout here. We set our layout. We set our. So this could also be it. I have this self.data, which is my custom string here. It might be expecting that to be this object over here. So let's go ahead and do that as well. I know I'm using self.bv equals data, so I'll just keep both for now. And we'll call this our reflog data. All right. So that should do that. And now let's just check for our references to self.data and clean those up. Load the data. And then yes, so this is going to be the actual view state there. So we were confusing parameters that we shouldn't have been. And we might not need this function at all. So let's comment that out. Let's restart. I've got restart and reopen bound to F12 because when you're working on plugins, it's usually helpful to just fully restart. You can technically unload and reload the state in Python. Looks like that's still doing what it needs to be doing, but doesn't think it has any content active. Um, I say set layout. I might need to, yeah, set layout. I probably need to do that at the end. Right. Don't save that. Yeah, so the Python interpreter inside of Binary Ninja will load up all the objects, and there's certain types of plugins you can deconstruct in Python's memory space, but as soon as we have a pointer being held by the UI or by the core into your plugin, that's when it's usually better, safer just to restart. Still no active content. Interesting. Do I need to? No. There are some errors down here, and they are my errors. So that could really explain things. I need a queue table widget. I would expect that to come from the Qt widgets. Um, Table? There's no table widget. Um, yeah, we'll use the AI autocomplete queue table widget, queue table widget item. Any other import errors there? And can I move this back? I don't think I can, but there's a chance. And it would be nice just to keep it all together. I think it commits like the whole view state object at once there when you do that, but I am no Qt pro, so that does seem to work. Nice, we can keep our code a little cleaner. And now we have addresses, which are editable, text, which is editable. We don't need our hello sidebar anymore. Okay, cool. So this is our very minimal plugin. Now we just need to start filling out this data and, in theory, changing some of the settings on the table itself. Um, Filtering locations. Yeah. Okay. Why didn't it populate the data though in the first element? What's it using that um, element for? It's an address. Qt widget item, custom string. Okay, so it sort of seems to be expecting those to be Qt objects and not just like the number it just chokes on, but the string it's trying to display. So we could just be lazy for now, figure out the right way to do it later, but let's just make that a string at the moment. All right. See how this does, and then we'll start actually tracking our navigation data. Perfect. Okay. So, of course, this will be empty. We can replace this comment with a, do I have typing imported from typing import, I guess tuple, we only need tuple or do we also need list? We should probably just grab list. I believe nowadays you can do just list of tuples. I don't know why I'm putting a space in there, and then we could do stir stir maybe. Or maybe we can just do that. How does it feel about that? Still more errors down there. We'll see those in a minute. All right, that's going. We still have these. Offset. Notify offset change. That's fair. That is very fair. So we can comment that out. We do have context menu. That is empty. And we have that extra title, which we really don't need. So I think that's this parameter here. Name, sidebar name. Yeah, we don't need this here. All right. We will leave the name though, since it is being used, it seems. And yeah, that's good for now. Um, let's blow this away. We're not actually using our typing imports now. And now we can do our notify offset changed. I actually kind of would love to grab this view changed. I know they do different things. They give you different data. And we might want one more than the other. So instead of doing this, let's just print the offset for now to see when we get notify offset changed. And then here, instead of saying this, because we don't have a data type object, we're just going to print none or print um, whatever that resolves to, which is hopefully a BV object, which has a repr on it. So that should be good. No, this is the repr. Or this is the actual BV object here, the data. And what was it? It was doing the get current view. Yeah, we don't need that. Okay. So let's see when we get our different prints. We'll have none, we'll have BVs, and we'll have offsets. When this starts up this time, I am going to save it. It is updating each time just because it's a newer version of Binary Ninja and the analysis could be better, so it's updating it for us. So now that I save it, it won't be asking us to open and close it every time. But it does look like I broke something. Our reflog plugin is gone because I used tabs. How dare I? Yeah, because I copied that from the other plugin. All right. Okay. We have our reflog plugin back. We've got addresses printing for us now. It looks like we got a duplicate BV reference there. Oh, no. Okay. It looks like these are fairly equal. The difference between them though is still going to be this only gets us the offset, and so we can actually comment this one out. And I think this is where we'll do our actual magic here. Um, we'll update the BV and BV. I would prefer, I don't know why this comment's here. I'd prefer for this all just to be neat. I forget what it specifically needs the dot data field for, but we just won't touch that. We could, but I prefer it being named a little more clearly as BV. Um, so actually, I suppose that's a bad take. Since it needs it, let's not have to juggle two variables everywhere. All right. Self.bv. Okay, self.data. Easy enough. Okay, so now the view frame object, this is really interesting. This will let us grab pretty much wherever we are clicked in the UI. Ah, right. Which brings me to that third column I was thinking about, which was the instruction we haven't selected, or just the bytes at that address. So we can have the address, we can have the function name it's in, and then we could have like the line or something. So let's look at how to get that. Um, these are always a little bit difficult to work with because it's a little bit difficult to get this in the Python console to see what tab complete options you have. But we will, there are ways. The way I usually do it is by going over to the source code for Tonto and going to its helpers, because again, what are we looking for? We're looking for a view frame that we can call get current view interface on. So frame, yeah, you have to grab the active context and then you can get the view frame from that. So let's just grab, well, we will need to import some things. So over in the Binary Ninja Python console, we can do import binary ninja UI. There we go. This has all the UI code in it so that most times you're not going to be using the UI code, so we're not importing it for you. Um, there's a bunch of junk in there that you don't necessarily want cluttering up your namespaces. But now we want the UI action context. So I actually usually do BNUI there, so I can say bn UI dot UI action context dot, is it get active context? Just active context. Active context. UI, oh, it brought up UI action, not UI context. UI context dot active context. And there we go. Does that work? It does. It gives me a new object, and I can grab the current view frame off of that. So this will basically let us simulate having that function being called. We'll have that same object, and we can figure out what we can grab off of it. So let's call this, I just view context equals that, and view context current view frame. So we'll call that view frame equals that. All right, double enter there. Now I should have my view frame, and I should have a lot of different functions I can do off of this view frame. Okay, so we can also use Tonto as inspiration for what things we can do with that view frame potentially. It looks like we're grabbing view frame dot view location dot get il view type dot view type. So this is looking at which il we have selected. These are also all the functions we need for like literally just grab whatever current line I have selected. So I think we will. This file is fairly standalone, if not entirely standalone. So let's just bring it over here. I know I can cheat because I have Tonto installed. Will it let me do this? We've changed the plugin load order recently. Well, we haven't really changed it, but we've massaged it a little bit, and I don't always remember if things will work, but it looks like it's happy. I was able to import Tonto, so I can just grab the helpers now. So I can say in here, I can actually say in either sense, I can grab the current address, I can grab current binary view, source function, IL function, IL basic block, the selected instruction or expression, because instructions consist of expressions, although this is a particularly bad place to show it off. we've got this variable, which is an expression object, which is dereferenced, which gets dereferenced again, which is then inside of a call, which is inside of an assignment. So each of these basically highlights I have going here is a different expression, and then the whole line is just the instruction. So, okay, let's grab the address. The current address works off of, we can grab this. Some things I will just steal, some things I'll call into. This one, since we already have the view frame, am I calling it? Oh, we have the context. Oh, okay. Yeah, why not? Let's just use the helpers as they were intended, which means we can simplify this too, because we can just use the notify offset change and get everything we want from there. I think that's probably the simplest way. All right. We don't need to juggle the all this stuff, and now I can have my .bb back if I really want, because we should never be reassigning that. Okay, we weren't reading it anyways. So notify offset change. We will in here. I guess we need to call load data if our actual list is going to change, so we can reload the um, table, of course, repopulate it, and we just need to append to our self.reflog data. So we will append a tuple here with the helpers dot get current address, and it wants to grab the comment at that address. Let's actually just maybe do the helpers dot get. I was saying the function is actually going to be the most helpful. So let's just grab that for now. Is that good? Oh, I do want to hexify. I am hexifying it here. I think I'm going to hexify it when we're putting it in the tuple, just so we're only the things in this tuple are actually strings. They should be. We shouldn't put the address there. So hex. And we could I'll probably align this to like 8 characters in a minute, but let's try this out. All right. So now we have errors. Tonto helpers has no attribute, get current function. Did you mean get current IL function? How do I not have a get current function? Oh, because the view context itself has the current function. Let's get the current IL function anyways, because you can still get the base function, the source function from it. And we are going to be wanting to, no, there is just the get current IL. So we can grab this. We should be able to. I should probably do the error checking in here, but YOLO. Oh, in this one, this one doesn't have the view context, so we need to do that. All right. Yeah, why not? I should probably add, because I don't necessarily want to do all this IL type stuff. So let's just add a helper. Although this will be in the wrong source file, so we'll add the helper to our source file, and we'll remove the type annotation here. Okay. So that'll get our current function, and we can now just ask for its name. Oh, does this need to be a self? It does. Okay. Uh, there we go. That broke things. Okay, restart that. See how it does. So we've got our, oops, not that. Our ref log over here. We've got UI context is not defined. Yep. Okay. Where does UI context come from? I think it's just being UI. Yeah. And so there we go. We've got apparently something terrible going on in my linting, my linter. Oh, is Binary Ninja updating? Which one of my coworkers had the gall to push a commit while I'm streaming? What is it? Preserve pointer offsets and high level IL. That's probably helpful. Okay. So it actually looks like our reflog plugin's already working. It would be nice to fit to width. But we are getting many addresses per click because how am I appending to that list at the moment? Um this looks strange. Nope, that looks correct. Append. Oh, it needs just to clear the table here before we load the rest of the data. Yeah. Funny little bug. Guess it makes sense that it would just keep adding rows. Like it did. And now it is better. I'll give it that. Um, how do I need to look up the Qt table object and see what other fields there are. Qt table. Or ask our beloved AI to do it for me. I feel like writing code myself today. Uh, feels good to write code yourself sometimes. Most times. Qt table widget. We have clear contents. What's the difference? This table can be cleared with the clear function. I beg to differ. Removes all the items, headers. Oh, wait, no. It is doing this weird table row count. Remove row, insert row. You know what? Maybe we just don't do any of that and just keep going. No. Um, let's see. We've got the. We can just add the elements as we get to them. Right now, we're not doing anything complicated like backtracking, so should be fine. We don't need to re-render the whole table every time we navigate. So then we can. Oh, does that work? I think that just works. Let's see. I should disable updates during stream, Peter. No worries. Um, I just find it funny. Cool. Now we have addresses not defined. That is fair. I wanted to do. Oh, I guess we don't even need this. That at all. We can just add them directly. Sweet. What is? Oh, we have one too few. There we go. That looks good. Let's restart this. And that's starting to look good. Okay, so I'd now like to fit, set horizontal header item. Um, how do we fit width? Resize column to contents. How much do we believe this answer? Set adjust policy. Resize column to contents. Is that a different type of table? Because that's not showing up in our docs. But why would it? Why ever would it? Who needs docs when you have Stack Overflow? So let's go ahead, Qt widgets. I already have that imported. I don't have a scroll area imported though. And this is just going to be self.table. Set size adjust policy, adjust the contents, and then they say we need to resize column to this. It'd be nice if this just works, but here we are. And then I'm going to be really excited to try this as a flow graph widget instead and completely blow away this UI. Okay, so this seems to work. Um, let's add the, oh, did that is fitting to width, isn't it? Yeah, cool. Except, oh, okay, the header's long. So we have our function here, and then we want probably instruction. This is where it gets a little dangerous because I'm not sure what'll happen when we click into data. So let's do the helpers got get current. I want the current IL instruction. Get selected instruction. Do we? I think we can just wrap this in the stir there. The rely on its default wrapper. Let's see. We could also test that in the console. Anything you have installed in your plugins folder, you can just import here. So I can import Tonto if I want, and I can try Tonto helpers, whatever. But we've already got it working over here. And apparently we don't. Because I didn't set the table to have 3 columns. Yeah, that looks right to me. Cool. And that actually isn't so bad. That's pretty nice. We could use instruction highlighting, syntax highlighting, and all that in there, but we'll get that more for free from um, the uh, flow graph widget way of doing it. So I'm happy with this for now. This is a very basic reflog. It'd be nice to be able to actually click these. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of hygiene here so we don't lose this version if we want to go back to it. GitHub, V35, plugins. Um, okay. So over here, I have my reflog plugin is just a Python file. Oh, I'm in full screen over here. I've got my reflog is just a Python file. I want to make a directory for the reflog plugin, move the reflog .py into there as a init.py. Otherwise, this is how you get, this is how you let Python recognize a folder as a module it can import. Just a Python file is a module you can import, or a folder with a dunder in it, dunder.py in it. So that should be good. I do, though, need to fix my symlinks. I have, this is your user folder here. These are all my installed, nope. Um, these are all my installed plugins. And my reflog is now broken. So let's link the new reflog in. And, oh, um, there we go. So now we can get init this and add our init and git commit initial commit here and come back to this later. Or if anyone wants to fork this repo from this point, they can. Cool. And now to completely rip this out, not really. Instead of doing a Qt table widget, I would like to do a flow graph widget. And in the flow graph widget, it is possible I'll probably need to re-render my entire flow graph each time. So we'll probably start needing to keep track of our actual data. So, hate doing anything without an example. So how do we work with flow graphs? As always, I go to my golden example, Tonto view, flow graph. So, oh, I do some hacky things with the default paint event. We shouldn't need that because we're always going to have a, um, we'll always have a graph that we're hopefully just adding to. So how do we initialize this? Here we go. So we can just grab this now. Oh, and we're not in the ref log anymore. We need, oh, of course, we need the init, which is in ref log, which is right there. And now we're putting in the flow graph widget instead of the table widget. Flow graph. I guess I can call it widget. Curious that it's not quite auto-completing that for me. Okay. Set context menu. Oh, no context menu. And I don't think I need either of those, to be honest with you. So we have our flow graph widget. Now we need to set the flow graph itself. Otherwise, it'll do this default paint event, which will say you don't have a function selected, which doesn't make sense for us because we're not working with functions. We're working with whatever we're being handed, basically, wherever we are in the binary locations. So in this case, we're initializing some other stuff, but the other fields we're going to want on this flow graph widget are, we don't need this helper paint event. Again, that's something hacky I was doing. The current offset, none of this. Okay, we just want set graph and there's show address. Show address is nice. Because that'll navigate us to wherever we happen to be or wherever we want to be in the flow graph. Will we be using that? We probably want to center our current reference every time. So potentially. Um, we can manually repaint, do some context menu stuff. Okay. So I think we really just need that set graph and maybe that show address. All right. Cool, which means we also need to create a default flow graph, which is just so terribly difficult. We just make a flow graph object. I don't have Binary Ninja imported. Interestingly, just the Binary Ninja UI and Tonto's helpers. Funny. So import binary ninja as bn, personal preference there as well. And then we can just do bn dot flow graph. I guess I should probably just import it directly since we're importing everything else. And add it. There we go. Cool. So flow graph widget. It's, we don't need the show address yet. I just want to have that there later so we remember to do it. And I think that's all we need. Let's just double check the flow graph API itself. Flow graph, right here. Is there anything else it wants us to do? We create a flow graph, we can create nodes, we can append to those nodes, add outgoing edges, and we can show the graph report, but we're showing it in a custom flow graph widget. So it should render by default, basically. Um, okay, that should be good. Let's give this a go. See, oh, we can't do this though, because we no longer have a table. And that's no longer valid Python. Yeah. So with this, we should be able to, I'll put this over here for now. I think we're good. All right. It was funny earlier. I was thinking like, wow, we haven't had an update in a whole day. It's so rare. Um, it is pretty rare these days where we don't have updates. We've been thinking about planning to have a more like weekly or just nightly update schedule for people, and my plugin didn't load. Go to log. What did I do wrong? Third import flow graph widget from Binary Ninja. Where is that? Okay. API.binary.ninja. Where is Flowgraph? Do I need just flowgraph.flowgraph? Let's see about that. Oh. And same error. Cannot import flow graph widget from binary ninja flow graph. Oh, of course it's not in flow graph. It's in the UI. Um, the flow graph widget is in the UI. The flow graph itself in the flow graph nodes, which is what I thought I read, are in the core. Okay. No content active. BV is not defined. Where are we? What are we doing? Flow graph widget. So it needs the parent widget, which is us because we're a sidebar widget. And then it needs the data. Okay. It needs the reference to the self reference to the BV to help it with a couple different things. If you've linked the flow graph widget with all the proper metadata, the binary view, sometimes the function, a couple other things, then um, you get navigation or highlighting or any number of things. Right click options, even. You can get potentially being able to rename variables. You can get a lot. But we now have an empty graph, which is good. That's what we wanted. We can now start adding our navigation history to this widget, which will look something like something. So we're going to need to, why not just call set graph and show address at the end of this function? So we'll keep it simple right now. Instead of appending to the flow graph, optimizing it, we will just regenerate the full flow graph every navigation. Not ideal, but a good first pass. And we will center that offset. Now, this will only work if the basic block object has the address of what we currently have selected. So we're going to need to set graph, flow graph widget. I didn't actually bind that to a variable. So let's do that. We've got the flow graph now. And from here, we need flow graph nodes. So we're going to say, well, first of all, we actually need to do what we came here to do, which is keep track of the data we want to be keeping track of. So we'll start with that. Instead of this weird Qt widget item nonsense, we can just delete all that. These are the three fields we're tracking so far: the current address, the current function name, and the selected instruction. I believe we can get tokens from these, but we can do these as just a string so far, or strings so far. Um, where are we adding this data? We'll add this. Oh, this gets interesting. We're going to need effectively our own graph structure in here to keep track of things. So would it be easier to navigate the one existing graph and append to it? Hmm. I know that we're going to need to know the last place we were so we know which node to append it to. Maybe we'll keep track of that as last node and start it as none. That's what I meant to type there. And I think we might be fine here. Flow graph widget. We don't need set graph, but we need to get the graph, get graph. Don't clear the graph. Um, oh, is this even valid? Can you append to a flow graph, or do you always need to relay it out so that it recomputes its layout? If somebody actually knows that, let me know. Because it'll be a lot of work for me to make this strictly append and then not have that work out. Um, but so maybe we should just do fully rebuilding it and tracking all that data each time. Um, okay. I'm gonna assume if nobody stops me. I think that adding to the existing graph is the easier way, but I'm gonna keep track of all the data and rebuild it because I think we might actually have to. Again, if any of my coworkers are in the chat, feel free to stop me if I'm wrong, and we can recompute layouts. Um, Notify offset changed. Flow graph widget. So that means we're going to be needing to keep track of our all of our own graph data. So self dot. Okay, where's my, there we go. Self dot. We'll call this graph data. And what is this just going to be a dictionary where we have um our text for the node. Each one is a node. So we'll have basically this schema here of text to the text of the actual node. And then we'll have outgoing edges, which will be a list of itself basically. Um, or tuples rather, because we need the edge type. Okay, so we'll have the text for the node, which will repopulate, and we'll have who to go down to, and I think we'll actually need the address as well. Okay, so this isn't really going to just be a stir, but it's basically a stir. Um, for right now, and the API we're passing it to can take a string. It's just nicer if we pass it colorized token text token objects. Outgoing edges, where we're going, and then our address. So yeah, that's pretty easy. We can even turn that into a class if we want. Should we? Yeah, why not? We'll call this just node. We will have, thank you. It knows everything it needs to do. It wants to define a wrapper. I don't think we'll do that, but we can just grab the text directly, the address, the outgoing edges. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just helps us from having to key into an array. We can just grab the fields off of an object. So none. And this is just now just the root, just the root node. And everything comes from this. We could have a last node now if we want, actually, just to help with the navigation, or we can redescend the tree, find the node we're looking for. We'll have to see which one we need to do. But okay, we don't need the set graph. We just need to center the current offset we're at. So to do this, couple things. First of all, let's save this flow graph widget, flow graph object, um, globally, so we can access it. No, that's not true. Because we need to remake that each time. So flow graph, nobody's stopping me, so I'm assuming this is the right way to do it. Flow graph, we will set the flow graph at the end, and we will navigate. Okay, so now in between, all we need to do is every single one of those nodes. So we define a function called add node, which should take a flow graph. Does it need a node? We'll see if it needs a node. It's going to, that's not what I wanted it to do, but because that's actually, oh, that is mostly correct. I just need my node here. Okay. So flow graph, we have the address, we have the text. Is this, I don't think that's how you construct a flow graph node. I don't think it has those default constructors on it, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it doesn't take any arguments there. Um, oh, it does. It just takes the graph. And then you need to set the lines. You can also set the address. What fields does a flow graph node have? Outgoing edge is valid for graphs. Set outgoing edge points. Set visibility regions. That's an interesting one. Not one I don't think that I've heard of before. Basic block graph height highlight. Incoming lines width and X and Y. Oh, the basic block. Basic block associated with this part of the flow graph. Hmm. Yeah, we can do that. I do think there I do think there might be more fields here. I guess we can find out. Did I? Oh yeah, because this is the core. It just needs a flow graph. Okay. Graph dot node, and then if I bind that to a variable, we still have the basic block, height, handle, highlight, lines, outgoing edges. No address though, like I thought. So I do think we just need to bind the basic blocks together then. Um, hmm. How do I do this in... I have a slice called, um, no, we want full call graph, full call graph. I make my nodes here. I set the lines. Oh, you can set the address of each line. Um, that's what needs to be set. Okay. So, but those will probably already be set for us assuming we grab the text in the right way. So this needs to be our parent flow graph, the flow graph we belong to, and it doesn't take anything else. So that's going to be our new node, and we will add that node to our flow graph, which I don't think is called add node. It's append, and we're going to set the lines. Append. All right. And then lines are ideally whatever we have currently selected, or rather, node dot text, which is already a list of, which should be a list of disassembly text. Okay. So we make our new node, we set the line, we append that node, we will, for edge and outgoing edges, new node, add outgoing edge, but we haven't necessarily created that node we are setting our outgoing edge to. So let's just use take advantage of the fact that this is take advantage of the fact that this is add node. I guess I need the target in there too. Um, take advantage of the fact that this is recursive and that we can just return the new node here. So this will effectively return our root eventually. So return new node. We can't do that. The order of that's not quite right. We need to, I'm effectively asking us to create from the leaves up. No, this will be fine because it'll create the node, it'll return itself, and then we'll use it. Okay, cool. Recursion is hard. Add node, flow graph, and we're giving it the new node, which is right. Our outgoing edges is going to be an edge type, and so that'll go right into here, edge type, and then we'll give it the actual node it's going to, which is the next node. Okay. So we still haven't done what we've come here to do, which is if so exactly what it's saying here. Not quite. If the root does not exist, we're going to set the root to a node which has this text, which we can improve upon. We can grab the text tokens. It'll have, I don't know if we need the address anymore. Let me try to find this. Well, get selected instruction will just give me the current instruction. So I can just do current IL instruction. And then, so you don't always need to use the helpers to get places if you don't want. There are equivalents in the as the magic variables, um, just not for the view frame stuff we were doing earlier. But we can do the current IL instruction and still ask for the tokens. Tokens. Is there text? There's not. There's just tokens. So let's just steal those tokens directly, and I believe that those should have. I actually didn't want to delete all that. I do want the current instruction. I just want the tokens. The tokens, I believe, should have their addresses set. correctly. All right. We'll give it the current address and yeah, we don't yet know where we're going. We also don't need to do this complicated function call to get the current address. We just can give it the offset. Okay. So otherwise, if we are not the root node, I need to know where we just were and append to that node. So I am going to need a self dot last node. Um, this whole function only happens when I click somewhere new. So my last node should always become, but okay, no, only the inner function here is recursive. Let's remove this from inside here. We'll make this a member function for giggles. All right, so we can call the node, or we can add nodes rather. This is still a nested function. There we go. And we can, on every offset change, we are going to, I guess this is no longer add node, but build graph. Doesn't matter. We'll set the root if we don't have a root. If we do have a root, then we need to actually just else if last node is not none, then we can, ooh, self.root, self.last node, self.last node dot, yeah, okay. So this will be the node object, we'll grab its outgoing edges, and we will simply append to that. Except it's appending the wrong thing. We want to append this. So that's actually going to be the current node. We'll do that. If we don't have a root node, we'll make the root the current node. If last node is not none, we will append the current node to the last node. Makes sense. Except still, this outgoing edges thing needs to be a tuple. It needs to be, or a list of tuples. So where the first one is the edge type, and the actual next one is the actual current node. So right here, I need these an edge type, flow graph edge type. Okay, that is the enum. So binary ninja, no, it's not. That's a class. Um, Edge. Edge has a branch type, is what it's called. And where is that? Branch type. It's just an enum. So from Binary Ninja, dot enums, import edge type. Should do it. And now we can give that over here as the unconditional branch just to start. And is this good? We have our nodes, we're appending to our last node. This way we're always appending, but this will replicate basically our behavior from the linear flow graph before. Um, Once we test this, we can try to add the backtracking and make it an actual tree. So now all we need to do is actually build this graph, which I believe just needs us to call self dot add node is that. And I do need to set the last node now to be me. So self dot last node is current node. Okay. And I think, oh, self dot add node. That should also be fine. Set graph and set offset. Let's try this. Surely won't work on the first time, first try, but we shall see. Errors. Import error. No edge type in binary ninja.enums from binary ninja. Well, oh, enum? No way. Enum. What are you talking about? What did I do wrong? Did I not make it plural? Oh, I said edge type instead of branch type. Of course I did. Did I do that elsewhere? I did exactly that. Cool. So there we go. Now for the magic moment, hopefully. I see our R. Ooh. Instruction text token has no len. Okay. So where are we giving the tokens? We're giving the tokens right here. This should be a list of things. We can verify that. We already did actually tokens. And those are instruction text tokens. So we do need to make the disassembly line. Where did I put that? Over here? Yeah, the disassembly text line, I see, constitutes of tokens, which makes sense. And the lines object are multiple of those. And we can set, okay, all this is coming together. We need just to overwrite this lines right here instead of saying, or it would probably be better to construct this where it needs to be constructed, which is tokens there. We're going to do disassembly text tokens. It'll be that. And we can do the offset. Okay. We will need to import this. This is from the core. I actually don't know where that lives. Is it also, it's in function? Hey, there we go. Okay, so it's not currently showing our history or address. So we can set like render settings to grab more details if we want. So over here on the left, I believe I have show address on. So from the API, I basically need to turn on that setting, and then we'll get addresses for free over here. But then why am I only a single node? Because I do the current node and not the self.root. Yeah, let's do that. And then, do I do settings in here? No. Settings. So this here is get disassembly settings. This will get whatever you have as your settings. But I don't necessarily want that. Basic block dot get disassembly text. This is a little ugly. That's passing it to the current basic block dot get disassembly text. Do we have current IL instruction dot get? We don't. But get lines takes a disassembly settings, which yields a generator. So I don't want tokens. I want this returns a generator of disassembly text line. Oh, okay, that's fine. I can just make a list of that. Okay, cool. So get lines. And we combine that with the assembly settings. I'll just steal mine for now since they're set correctly, but we could properly construct them from scratch with the settings we need to, which would be better before we release it, because you might not all have the setting I have turned on. Okay, so then we are making our lines more and more complicated every day. Okay, I have a little space to work with here. Um, we have the current IL instruction, which isn't going to fly. We need the selected instruction instead. We're going to be getting lines. We can pass it though. The disassembly text settings. That'll grab us the line. We've already imported helpers here. We might not need that. Oh, but this is a generator of disassembly text lines already. So we really just need a list of those. If I can find my eye without looking. Okay. So then we've got that list. Oh, we don't need this at all because we're not building them ourselves. I just want to remember you might want to overwrite this. Okay, so we might want to reset all the lines to be the current offset. Sorry, the current line addresses to be the current offset. But for right now, we can just drop in this list of lines that gets generated for us. I didn't make sure to check that the list of things worked, but we can check that now. A graph is empty, and we get errors because none type has no attribute text on line 50. Yeah, that'll do that. I have a node here. I'm calling add node. I forgot to set the root, or no. Yeah. If root is none, we'll do that. If that is not none, we'll do that. Those are, you won't, it's safe to do elif. Yeah. Okay. I was doing something really weird there. Interesting. Little logic bug. Sorry about the bump. We've got now it working for us, but it's not giving us our addresses. Okay, this is kind of nice. But now I'm sort of seeing like if we click around in the same function a bunch, this isn't necessarily useful. So if we could group it by function, it might be a little more useful. So I can have like we're in this function and we append like in the function, then we have addresses in each function, which is the offset we're accessing into that function. And then from there, we can add the lines after each address. And then if we ever navigate out of the function, we would actually create a new node. Let's play with this a little bit first before we go to that. And I kind of want to implement. Let's get the let's get the address showing because that'll probably help us a lot. Right now we're missing sort of like where are these things? They're just instructions. We probably actually want the function in here too. So let's do that. We need to do this literally with right here the name of the function. Wasn't I getting that before? I can get the current function is what I can do. Oops. So get current function dot. What's the type of that? Surely, yeah, that's just a string. Get type tokens. Okay, that works. So we can put the name. We can put the disassembly text line of the function in there if we want. I kind of don't need all the arguments. I kind of just want the name of the function there. It's certainly not going to be. Let's index into this, see what we can grab. I don't think it's safe just to grab the name out of there. Unless I can do. It doesn't matter too much. Let's grab just the name and the address. So we can do the get current function dot name and just before that. Yeah, there we go. It's a list of disassembly text lines. So this one will come first. The function. Okay, so I think I just want to add the offset here. Um, it's a little weird how these are nest lists of lists. but it's because a single instruction can have multiple lines, and then each line can have, of course, a bunch of different tokens in it. And we could colorize these all nicely, but I believe we can just put strings in here and it'll give us a default render. Let's see about this. Looks like all this got messed up. Everything got messed up. Where did I do that? So this is not actually inside of the um that's not the right thing there. That needs to be here. Okay. That looks a bit better. And restart. So hopefully we'll get address at function name and then we'll get the actual line. No, because start object has no attribute type. Architecture, flow graph, add node, line 50. Stir has no that. Disassembly text line. Where else do we use disassembly text lines? First line is the disassembly text line. We set the address, the instruction, the highlight, the tokens. Okay. Um, does it need to just be string? If I make it a list, it's expecting one thing, but if I just add these, let's give it a go. Otherwise, it could just be a, yeah. Let's see. So that's a list of assembly text lines. I was pretty sure you could just do a string like this. But it's possible. What if I do literally just a raw string? Will it be happy with that? Since it's not a disassembly text object, it's not expecting tokens inside there. Correct. Okay. And we don't need any fancy highlighting right now anyways. If we want to, we know what we need to do. Yeah, so this is fine. And as we keep navigating, it keeps bringing us to where we are, except if we click somewhere previous, it'll navigate us to the first one, not necessarily like this has multiple lines here. And if I click back and forth on these right here, I do think it is just infinitely making my reflog. No, it doesn't seem to be. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. The scroll bar just wasn't showing me that necessarily. Okay. So then I think, how do I want to do this? It is useful to see when you're going back and forth between places, doing loops like that. We could add a back edge, but I think that would get really confusing in a reflog. Uh, I kind of want to say, just if we visit our parents' parent, that we sort of set that as our new last node. Let's think through that with the code. Um, we've got, and this will be the last little bit that we're doing here of just getting these branches to work in our reflog now, as opposed to just doing cycles. It would be more like if I go here, let's go into a new function here just to make this simpler. Oh, that's a new bug. Get lines, list of, interesting. Okay, so then one more time. We need to be able to, well, if we can't get the current instruction, I'd still like to show something. For now, let's make this just code refs. We can expand this better later. But we can say current inst is walrus equal to that. So then if all this nonsense is none, we can just return we don't have a current instruction. We'll just return. Otherwise, we will do that nonsense. And in the future, if we don't have a current instruction, we could just get the byte there, maybe get 8 bytes at that address, render them as hex. I think that would be simple enough. These disassembly settings also aren't what I was hoping to have. So let's create our own. We can get default and then we can set an option. So does it show us what all the options are? Default settings, default graph, default linear, init. Okay, so let's grab a disassembly settings dot. Do I want a, let's just grab a default settings one. And then I want this show address thing. Is that a, was that an is option set? And is it the literal string? Show addresses? Was that it? Show address. Yeah, okay. Um, oh, sorry, that's a disassembly option, what it's supposed to be. And those are show address. There we go. Disassembly option. Perfect. Okay. So let's go ahead and we need this. And instead of this helpful thing, let's just set some global settings. Disassembly settings. I did not spell that right, did I? We'll leave it as that for now. Disassembly settings is going to be, yeah, the whole default thing I meant to copy. Or I did, but then I overwrote my clipboard. And we can say that it is equal to the default settings. Where does, oh, funny that we're not using that anymore. Where do these live? Under function, perfect. We're already importing function. Option though is probably under enums. Okay. So now we can just do Assembly set option. Set option. Perfect. Let's hope that works. Um, and then we'll think about the backtracking, I think is next on the list. Um, current assembly, get lines, a text, got those. Current inst dot. All right. So if I do this locally, um, okay, looks good. And then if I get the current IL instruction and get those lines, it should give me a list, or it should give me a generator. So if we listify that, it does not appear to be. For inst in, or for line, I guess. Print L. Um, is there a different address I need to be showing? Show address. I'm not sure what's going on there. We could add it ourselves. Um, am I passing it in as the wrong parameter? This is a high-level IL instruction, which takes, if I call it settings, does it help? Does not appear to. What are... I'm wondering if it's in default graph somehow. Or sorry, default linear, because linear shows the addresses off to the side. I believe it's a different part of the renderer. Um, so let's do default graph settings. And then we could do that over here. But let's just give it a go. Oh, I think up arrow also is a little noisy. So I do think it'll be worthwhile for us to group this by function. Yeah, this still isn't giving us the addresses. So I don't know what's wrong with that. We'll figure that out. But let's do one more thing. If if I'm here and I navigate back here, if I navigate to the address of my last node, just skip what we're doing and set that node yeah, just keep the last, no, I guess set, how would that work? Because we set, um, last node over here, we set last node to current node when we're done. So if self dot last node dot address equals the current node dot address, I think just return and explicitly do not reset the last node. think I think this is what we need. I could be wrong, but we're about to find out. So we have, and I think we can just return here. If last node address is the current node's address, that'll backtrack us one level. It'd be nice to hit back multiple times, which I don't think this enables currently. It really is. I guess I could. Let's see what this does first. Thinking costs tokens, guys, and we only have so many credits. Okay, so I just went up to. If I go back, nothing should happen. And then the next time I click, it should add a branch. And also, let's hide the feature map. I have accidentally made it really large. Hide. Okay, so if I go back, it should do nothing, which it does not do. And then if I go back, it should do nothing, which it does not do. Because we create a current node. The root is not going to be none. Last is not going to be none. Um, but wait, when I'm right now, my last node is this. As soon as I click away from this, we're going to make a new node. Yeah, so I do want to check the parent of the last node, basically. But this is a singly linked list we're working with. Um, so do I need a list of navigation um locations basically is the thought, and we can pop them. So let's, oh, we also need to add like clear to our reflog, but we'll do that in a minute. Let's just rethink this through again. I'm gonna go to some more recognizable instructions. So it's interesting that the reflog only, if I close this and navigate a couple places, okay, you do need to open it once though, which is not ideal. We'll come back to that. So right now our last node is rename command. So if I click anywhere else, so I need to keep track of like my second to last node, I believe, which we could just call parent. You know what? That parent is none. As soon as I create my new node, let's set our parent, and then we can just navigate through parents. Um, so that's going to be current node. If the root is none, we do nothing. If self dot last node is not none, no, we don't have our parent yet. I do need my new node, and I need to make sure oh, okay, yeah. So in here, we just say the current node dot parent is the last node. Okay, cool. So now we also need to make sure we have that. If last node dot parent is not none and these are the same, let's give it a go. So if my grandparent is the same as me, that makes a little more sense than just your last node. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's see though. Um, we still would like to be able to repeatedly walk the tree, I believe. Although I might actually need to self dot last node equals self dot last node dot parent. I think that's I think that might also be true. Let's give that a go. I'm hoping that this is the magic moment. We'll start up here, we'll open our reflog, we'll go down, we'll go down, we'll go back up, and hopefully nothing happens. Yes. And if I go back down somewhere else, it'll hopefully make a branch off create command. Ah, okay. That's wonderful. And now if I keep going, beautiful. But if so now I just need the ability to be like, okay, you go back to print command, you go back to create command, and now instead of rename command or print command, let's go to edit command. It works. It just works. So then if I go into this function, it shows me in main going into edit command. So then I can go to this subfunction, go all down here, look at some of these instructions, keep going down, go back up, go to a different function. Okay. So something broke when I navigated backwards, I think. But I'm pretty happy with this. Um, I do want it to follow me back up more. Oh, and it does sort of be seeming to. Am I just missing a case in here somewhere? Um, where I should be setting something to something else when I'm not. If last node is not none, am I forcing you to only navigate through grandparents right now? If I did this here, which doesn't navigate, oh, it did navigate me on the left. Okay. So if I go from here to here, and then I go here, no. If I go, okay, these are not clickable. I thought these were clickable. That's okay. Um, I'm gonna figure out the address render offline and we can come back to this another time or just release it. But I hope you guys found this informative and fun. I've been wanting to write this particular plugin for a while. Now that we have two versions of it, it'd be nice to just have them as different tabs. There is this more like nested navigation thing we need to work on going back. It's like half working. There's something still to be figured out. But this is pretty awesome to have. If I go literally anywhere else in this binary, it's not actually that big of a binary. But if I go here and I go here, we go back. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Binary, there's different the back button doesn't actually track navigation history as much anymore, I don't think. But if I'm going, yeah, it's like it's not doing anything there, but then it adds a child. Okay. So it's mostly working. There's just some kinks to work out, some addresses to add. It'd be really nice to be able to delete a whole branch, to be able to clear the whole thing if you want, for it to start going up. There's just a lot of quality of life things to add here. So, with that, thank you guys for sticking around. It's been another wonderful stream. I am hoping that next time we're gonna have the sidekick stream. In fact, um, okay, there's not an update for it right now, but I was wondering if it was coming out today. So hopefully we'll do that next time. And until then, thank you all for joining us. I've been Kyle Martin, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.